Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Good Soup. My name is Sam Prime. I'm joined here by Mohammed. How you doing, Mohammed?
I'm doing really well, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Mohammed had asked if we wanted to do a recording. We both had some free time today, but I do want to talk about that question of how I'm doing, because that's a topic that we don't talk about. How our mental health is and how we're doing just as card players and players, and we got life going on and stressors. You have full time job. I'm trying to run a business, and all that while we're trying to play this silly card game that means so much to us, ironically.
Yeah.
Um, Most recently, I'd already paid for my hotel in Canada. I'd already made arrangements to hang out with some people. I knew where I was staying. Um, I had already bought my plane ticket. It was actually one of the very few this year that I bought and that was non-refundable because Southwest doesn't fly to Canada as far as I know. Um, and then on my way to the airport, literally about 5 minutes from the airport, in dead traffic to where turning around was going to be a nightmare, I decided I wasn't going to go. Um, and I made that decision because I was having a lot of anxiety, and not all that anxiety was card related. In fact, a lot of it was just my dog's being at home alone. I just left for like 2 trips back to back, and my girlfriend had to take care of the dogs, and I felt a little guilty leaving them. I just wasn't in a good headspace to go play cards. Um, and I feel like that was the best decision I could have made. Do you ever feel like that? Do you ever get in that situation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're all we're all people. This is a game. This is a hobby we all love and enjoy. But I think I told you this as well when you mentioned that you decided not to go. That prioritize yourself, prioritize your family,
Mhm.
prioritize your life. The betterment of yourself and just general health. I think that's the most important thing. You don't want to get burned out. You don't want to go to an event and you're like, man, like I don't really want to be here. Like, what am I doing here? I should be home. Like, it's these things build up. So I think it's a great decision that you made.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. It was really tough because qualifying for Japan has been like on my radar a lot this year, and I know that we only have, I don't know, was it like 12 people or something like that qualify the whole year? Maybe it's less than that. Maybe it's, I don't know. I think we have 8 Materia Cups. Is that correct?
This year, yeah, 8 material cups
And
and
4 at nationals. So being one of 12, when there's hundreds of players, is really tough. Congratulations on your qualification. That's super awesome.
thank you so much.
But it's really been on my mind, and so I've been putting a lot of work in, like testing. I have never been one to like test on my own, and I want to talk a little bit about that because I have like, so I'll just pull it up right here. So I have these 2 decks are the decks I test against. That is MBM and
Yeah,
Ice Wind Crystals. I tend to think that those are two of the best decks, if not the two best decks in the format. So I test against them relentlessly. And then I have like my normal deck that I'm playing, and then I have like always just have 2 backup decks that I'm considering or whatever. Um, and it has put a little bit of stress on me. Um, and I haven't been taking care of myself mentally, and it just led to a point where like I said, I didn't feel comfortable going to Canada. I just wasn't in a good headspace. And some of that was not eating well. I'm about 20 pounds over my target weight. I'm about 10 pounds heavier than I was last year. So overall, not terrible. But again, like not feeling good about yourself is going to have some stressors. And then I have something that when I tell people this, they're like, no shit. And that is that I came to the conclusion that I have ADHD. And when I tell people this, they laugh at me. They're like, no shit, dude. Like, obviously you have ADHD. But my whole life, every one of those symptoms has just been normal. Like, that's just my normal. And I thought that was
yeah,
everyone's normal. Um, and I want to talk about that as it relates to card games for those that are watching. So, for example, so I deck build for probably a couple hours a day. That's a lot. That's a lot more than probably most people. And but a lot of that is my ADHD like kicking in. So like I will start, let's say, I wish I'd set up a stream with so you could just share my screen and show you what I do. But basically, like let's say I'm building like Earth Wind Kefka deck, right? I'll start building this deck and I'll be like, okay, this deck is looking good. I think it'd be better with Man in Black. How do we fit Man in Black in? Of course, you have Cindy to cast it. How do we fit Man in Black in? Okay, now I'm building this Man in Black deck. Now, okay, well, if I could play this 5-drop Radiant that protects Man in Black, oh, that's cool. Let's work on that. Okay, now we need to add other category 4 stuff. Okay, well, water has the best stuff, so why am I building Kefka if I could build water? And then I do this for like, I'm not kidding, like at least a couple hours a day. And after about 2 hours, I've built 0 decks. And that's not an exaggeration. It's I have pulled because I don't really use Materia Hunter FF decks very often. I'm
Yeah.
starting to try to do that because it's going to help me with putting my cards away and stuff. But so I've pulled about 300-400 cards out of binders, and they're just in piles everywhere. Um, and that's my everyday. When I'm in a tournament, I think about, hey, I need to play this cloud to kill the witch, right? And then what do I do? Okay, then I'll probably play the Leo. Okay. And then I'll think about something else, and then I'll just do the third thing before I've done the second thing or the first thing. And that happens all the time. And it makes playing cards actually really stressful for me because I can't stay focused. Um so I guess what I want to talk about is like just taking care of yourself. So for the very first time I went to the doctor yesterday, she said, "Yep, you definitely have ADHD. We're gonna give you Adderall." So I'm gonna start taking medicine. I'm gonna start taking care of myself. I'm gonna go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I've committed to drinking like almost zero. The goal is zero liquid calories, so just mostly just water. A diet soda if I'm really having a craving. So just those types of things. Um, and those are just like the things that I'm going through. Like I can't even imagine like the number of things you're going through. You have pets, right? You have a wife at home. You have a full time job. What are some of the things that you do to stay like mentally ready to play in tournament?
Honestly, so this is kind of relatable to you. I know I actually remember speaking to you guys in a team. Like I said, mentioning like I wonder if I have ADHD, right? Like I remember this discussion came up, and you guys are like, yeah, probably. And then I actually went to the doctor as well, and there was like this test that they gave me to answer some questions, and they said, okay, you are definitely on a borderline, so you should probably go see a specialist. So this is the next step I'll be taking. So I'm basically in the same path as you, where I'll be seeing a specialist to look into that. And I know, and I one of the biggest tells for me was like I was having a lot of issues focusing on things, like this on like I can't stay focused on just one thing, right?
Mhm.
Like you're saying about going from one thing to another,
Oh yeah.
and for me that's just I was like this is normal. Like I'm thinking of a bunch of things all at once. Everybody does that, right? And then no, apparently that's not the norm. That's a condition. So I'm like working on that. Plus, I have some other health issues that I'm working on, which related to like sugar and stuff. And so I just saw a doctor recently, and still have to. So I'm still working on that as well. So that's another thing. Like you said, mentioned like taking care of the health. Then of course you have family, and as our parents are, parents for me, they're getting older. They're getting the and it's in your mind also, right? Like, oh, how much time do we have? If I travel overseas, like, what if something happens?
Hmm.
And it's not it's a scary. It's just one of those scary thoughts you have, and
So you're dealing
I
with
don't know.
anxiety also on top of all
Yes, I
that.
do. I have anxiety. Yes, that I know for sure. And all the time I'm having these like thoughts, like, oh, if I go here for the weekend, what if something happens and I have to like, it's just. And for most people, like when I spoke to the doctor about this, like, yeah, this is anxiety. Mm, this is something you'll have to also like talk to the specialist about and work on. So these are just things that I'll be working on moving forward. When getting appointments is not easy either because availability, but that's something. And of course, you have your family life, you have your work life. I do say that I do have a little bit of a benefit that I can work remotely.
Hmm.
So that does make it a little bit easier when I'm like driving. Like I'm going to be with you in Dallas for this event. So although I'm going a little bit earlier and I have family to stay with, so I can work on the days that's not the tournament and the weekend I have the tournament. But I mean, that's not the case for everyone. There's like my wife, she can't go to all these things because she can't work remotely. The government doesn't allow it, right? So she's a government employee. So these are different factors also. Like in my case, I'm going to Japan in December, right? My wife doesn't have enough. We're also going to Pakistan after that. So which one is she going to go to, right? It's very limited PTO on
Hmm.
certain positions. So I'll probably be going to Japan by myself, and my wife will probably meet me in Pakistan later. So, that's probably how it's gonna work out. So, but at the same time, you kind of feel bad, like, oh, I'm leaving my wife here. I'm not gonna see her for almost a month. Like, it's just, it doesn't. You have that, and then at the same time you have the tournament, and you want to
Mhm.
like, be at your best, but then there's just these thoughts that kind of creep in.
Yeah, I think you bring up just a good point that, like, you're talking about all these issues you have, um, and then you just won a Materia Cup, which winning a Materia Cup, I feel like, is not an easy thing to do. I mean, we had, 100 people there. It's less than 100, 1 in 100 or something like that. Um, and I think you're just kind of showing that, like, one, your resilience personally to be able to, like, go through all of that, and then also be able to still, like, come up on top. Playing you played some of the best players in the world, in my opinion, in order to
Yeah,
get there. Um, and so, but you're also just showing that, like, no matter what you're going through, like, everyone else around you is also going through things, and, like, I think that that makes it okay to reach out. I think that it makes it okay to talk about. And I know there's a stigma behind, like, mental health and guys, but I would say that stigma is even harder in, like, people in, like, these types of hobbies, like these competitive hobbies, whether it's video
yeah.
games or trading card games. Um, because oftentimes, I mean, what our chat looks like is a bunch of trolls, right? It's like we have a chat, and the entire time everyone's just dogging on each other. There's never a lot of, like, time to just talk about mental health or, hey, here's how I'm doing. And that's not to say that those guys aren't here for us, or we're not here for them. Um, it's just it's difficult to talk about. I find even recording this podcast to be difficult because I don't love talking about myself. Two, I don't love airing out, like, all the issues that I have.
Yeah.
Um, but if it
And
helps someone else feel like that it's okay, and it's okay to go see a doctor, it's okay to go see a psychiatrist
absolutely.
or a therapist, because there are tools that help with this type of stuff. I'm not an
Yeah.
expert, by any means,
Yeah,
but
like
I'm learning.
we didn't come into this video with this topic in mind at all.
No.
Like we literally 1 second before we started recording, we decided, oh, maybe this is something we can talk about, something that maybe will help others. And you were
Mhm,
talking about like in general men also, and I don't know much about as far as your background culture related to mental health. In in our culture, like it's not really a thing. Like
mhm,
in especially like Pakistani, Indian, Bangladesh, like especially for men, like being like emotional or being like there's mental health issues, like it literally is not a thing that's discussed or talked about. It actually looked at like I'm sorry to say, but it's a fact. It is looked down on, right? Like
mhm,
it is like kind of like oh you're weak, like like what's wrong with you, like that kind of thing. And the not here. Like my parents are very supportive, my wife and family supportive, but I'm talking about that the background
overall
culture.
culture, yeah.
Yeah, there's not like and there isn't a whole lot of support. There isn't really a network of support, especially for men when it comes to mental health, and that's also the case in U.S. And we know the studies have shown that there really isn't like there is a bit of a stigma. Is it stigma? Is it the word?
Yeah, yeah.
Right on mental health, especially for men. That's the studies have shown that, which is unfortunate. But yeah, hopefully we can break the stigma.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the goal, of holding this podcast, just to get people to open up and just talk about how they're doing. Um, Again, I feel like I'm just learning about things like ADHD. Like, there's so many things that, like, um I never really understood why. So if I'm relating it to, I don't want to relate it to cards completely because there's a lot of issues outside of that. But, like, if I've like, literally, let's say, like, there's a text box on a card. If the text box is too long, I tend to literally not read the card, and that sounds crazy to me. Like, it sounds crazy to be like, I'm just not gonna read the card because the text box is too long. I'm gonna forget what the beginning is anyway. It's like, okay, I generally know what these cards do based off, like, application. So a good example of that is, like, when I started testing MBM,
Yeah,
um, I had no idea what any of those cards did, and I've read the full spoilers before. And it's like, I know Ash did something like flip five. I
yeah,
didn't even know it free played stuff because I didn't get to the bottom of the card. I got distracted, like, the number of times I read the card. And that
yeah.
happens so often, and it really does affect me playing, um, a lot. I feel like I feel like I could say that, like, a huge amount of my losses comes to me just losing focus, like, just doing something stupid because I'm not focused, and it frustrates me. And I mean, that I'm not saying that you should go get, checked for these types of conditions because of card games. That seems silly. There's just enough things in the card games for me, hopefully, to relate to people listening. Um, that also those things were also affecting my everyday life. Um, so I do want to kind of branch off and also talk about testing a little bit because I talked about testing um, with just playing by myself because oftentimes it's difficult to get people to play test. People are lack of interest. Some people are already qualified for worlds. Some people have already qualified for nationals. Whatever your goal is, once you hit your goal, it's really hard to dig in. I know I qualified for worlds at the end of last season, which was a blessing because I didn't have to continue to play test a lot of that set. I can move straight on into like nationals, which then I can move straight into worlds and test. One of the issues that I have that I've noticed with my testing um, is that I test on the extreme side of things, and so I'll lay it out for you, and you can tell me if you ever do this type of thing. Today, I noticed that I do this thing that Matisky and I used to do, which is basically when I tested with Chris Matisky back in the day, if we hit an EX burst and we were the one trying to see if our deck was any good, we never counted our EX burst. So, like, if I hit like modern day, if I hit like a Q Sith and that was going to win me the game against NBM, I simply did not activate the Q Sith because I needed to see what it would be like if I didn't hit that Q Sith, right? And I've taken that, I think, too far. So I've played about 50 games of Icewind Crystals. Deck's gross, by the way. And I've played over 100 games against NBM at this point, and at least half of those are against myself, just like playing two decks at once. Here's my issue: the deck's not allowed to open bad. So if you mulligan and you don't have at least two backups, you mulligan again, and you mulligan again, and then you shuffle and you mulligan again until you start with three backups. Um,
For the deck that you're playing against or your own
the
deck?
deck that I'm playing against,
Yeah, okay.
I will mulligan again. So I usually with NBM, it's always two backups, or at least or three would be like the goal. Um, and so I will mulligan into those things, right? If if I want to attack with Vaughn and I don't have three NBM characters in my break zone, yes, I do. I just remove whatever number I do have, and then I'll attack with Vaughn twice. If I have removed, let's say, another example would be like, let's say I did that. I removed those NBM characters with Vaughn, and then later on I played a friend, but I needed purple CP or something, and I removed all my purple. I would just put a blue away and then add the purple back. And so NBM has God hands all the time. It's really
Yeah,
hard for me to beat NBM because I'm playing with it on God mode.
yeah,
If it hits EX burst, it counts. If I hit EX
yeah,
burst, it doesn't count.
yeah.
Right? It's quite literally I will draw Yuna, and most of the time it's like the worst card I could draw because I want to like go off that turn, and I will just put it on bottom and draw a second card. Right? If I play out a turn where my Penel happens to hit a Vaughn, or not a Vaughn, if my Penel happens to hit a Fran, but I discard a purple card
Yeah.
to play the Penelo, and now I don't have purple to use the Balthier ability, I will instead discard the blue card to use the Balthier ability anyway.
Best case scenario. Yeah, I get that. And also MBM has probably one of like when it gets that like God start,
Hmm.
it might actually be one of the best starts in a game. Right? Like that Mont Blanc into like say Hardy or Gardy is it?
Yeah,
The other
agree.
one, and then Horn, because you are starting with three backups and you're not at zero in hand, you're at two in hand still. Or if you
Yeah,
go second, you're still three in hand. Like it's an absolutely ridiculous start. So, and if your deck isn't doing something similar when you're testing, like it's really hard. You're not gonna be keeping up.
yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is I think that this style of testing is actually counterproductive to what I've been trying to do. I realize it today that it's like there are some decks that when they draw their god hand, they're just gonna beat you. Right.
Yep.
And so like let's say I'm like playtesting against Storm and like yeah, Storm can Luso on like turn two, I think, or it could very often Luso on turn three. But it's not the easiest thing in the world. Things do have to go right. When I'm playtesting at Storm, if it's not gonna lose, if it's not gonna be able to lose on turn 3, like, we will shuffle cards to the bottom until we draw, and it's just like, I need to be able to play against, like I'm like, "Okay, well, this deck needs to be able to beat NBM with 3 backup opener and into Van Baldir. It has to be able to beat that." And the reality is I don't know that there's that many decks that do beat that very often. You know,
It's a very different.
I could play 3
Sorry.
Hecaton, I could play 3 Shantoto, and, like, I don't know, I've Hecaton them and Shototo them and then died the next turn before. Um, and I wonder, do you have any types of like I know you play test with the guys whenever you can. You watch them play test also when they're on like Octagon and stuff. Um, do they do something similar to this? Are they a little bit too hard on themselves, or what's the consensus you
So
think?
I had a so similar to what you mentioned. This is advice that Oki gave a long time ago. He used to mention, and I've done this too, also where when you're goldfishing or you're testing with your friends, if you have like a perfect hand, or you have a really good hand, that's not really helping you test because that's kind of almost out of it's going. You're going to know what to do. What you really
Mhm,
want to know is how to play when you don't have those good starts, right? But that's like the opposite of what you're saying because you're talking about when the opponent always has God, and then you're trying to kind of beat that. And that's not going to get, I mean, if you have a bad hand and you're trying to beat the best hand, realistically, that's not going to happen too often. As far as our team goes, yeah, like we'll see them testing. And when we're getting closer to events, like the closer we are to event, the less we allow takebacks, right?
mhm.
When you have like, when you're starting a new deck or you're trying to learn the deck, sometimes we do allow a little bit of, like take back so that you know you can learn the optimal moves and how it plays out and what should be even if it's for you. But as we get closer and closer to the event, you want to be able you want to make sure you're making less and less mistakes or you're at least getting punished for the mistakes. So in those cases where they do get tend to be more harsh against each other when it comes to making sure that the right plays are made or not taking back. But I don't know if as far as like making sure the opponent has the god hand, I don't think I've seen them do that
Yeah,
because
so
in Octagon.
I won't say that I get to where they have a god hand, but like if like I said, like it's just small tweaks. So like if it's 2 backups they keep, that's not the god hand. If it's 2 backups they keep. If it's
Yeah,
1 backup and Pinello, but we've mulliganed, sometimes I'll force that MBM start because it's still fine because you ash the next turn and you have the Pinello to dig. So you're digging
yeah,
10. It's already probably on average that's better than a mulligan.
yeah.
Um, so I wouldn't say it's always God hands, but yeah, I mean I do test on the a little bit more strict side, hoping that the MBM deck I could showcase what it can do, and then I could try to beat it. And then the problem that I'm coming across is then I get really frustrated that I feel like I can't beat the MBM deck.
Oh, yeah, I do remember. Yeah, and I can see the drawback with that because then you're going into tournament thinking, well, and I can't beat this deck, but it's not realistic that every time you play and beyond, they're going to get the God start, right? It's just
Right,
you're
right.
better prepared for the
They
situation.
don't always have the Miwa, right? A lot of times
No,
I draw 2 and like let's say I see more them, right? And I dole froze the water backups like a smart guy.
yeah,
And then they draw and their hand is like literally they draw like Panella Miwa, but the Miwa win or not Panella Miwa, the bad example. Fran Miwa, but
yeah.
the Miwa it's gonna win the game with the untap. It's like, nope, now the Fran discards for blue and they cast the Miwa. Um, but I tend to find when I'm playing at events, oh look, this person did not have a god start. It's like it almost seems like I'm testing on too hard of a mode because then I'm inbreeding my deck a little bit, right?
So I think what's for me, what's helped me is I've been playing more on these like online webcam tournaments
Hmm.
because I wanted to gain some experience with actual wild holy cards. Personally, like I'm more like you now. Like I used to love Octagon, and I only tested solely on Octagon.
Hmm.
Now, like the more I play Octagon, like I don't feel like I'm gaining the experience I need to like improve as a player at this point from
Bro,
Octagon.
I think that's I swear to God, I think that we just did a full circle. I think that's ADHD because when I'm playing on Octagon, I'm gonna check my email and I got a text message and I can't stay focused. I feel like I learned nothing from Octagon. I don't understand how people learn anything from testing an Octagon.
Yeah, so now I've been playing a lot of these webcam tournaments, right? And it's helped me a lot. Like I feel I feel like I'm losing some of that rustiness. I feel like I'm getting more comfortable with my cards. I'm actually reading the card because Octagon also does some auto stuff, right? Like not
Mhm.
a lot, but it still does have some, and it can cause bad habits. But I'm not saying don't test on Octagon. Like, no,
If
Octagon
that's
is
what you
better
have,
testing than
yeah,
no testing.
yeah.
Yeah, and like for a lot of people, that might be the only testing, and that's okay. What I'm
I
saying,
I know
but if you
Ryan tests a lot in Octagon. He's probably one
yeah,
of the best
sure.
players in the world.
I also think that when you get to a certain level, like once you've reached a certain level as a player, and I don't think I'm there yet. If you get to a certain level, you know, like you this game very inside out. You know the decks you're running inside out, and then you can play it anywhere because it like when I saw Ryan playing Water Wind, not I mean, against me, he really just had bad starts. That's a fact. But when I saw like I think he was featured in another game, and you could tell like he knows his deck inside out, right? Like a lot of it is I don't want to say autopilot, but he know like it's like almost like a muscle memory. Like he
Hmm.
knows the first few turns really well. He's going through it quickly. He's pulling what he needs to, right? And Storm is on the
A
easy
good
deck.
example of that is like the double Alexander, right? So casting the second your second Alexander at the same time you cast your first, so that
Yeah,
when they resolve, you've already cast three, right? Is it
yeah,
three? Yeah, for Alexander. And I think that like when you think about it, that's really obvious, like duh. Um,
yeah,
but when you don't see people do it very often. Like I swear to God, I've seen people cast Alexander, draw, and they'd be like, okay, I'm gonna cast this other Alexander that was also already in my hand. But like they just have so much experience that like they just know like why would I just cast this Alexander at the same time I cast the other Alexander?
yeah. Oh yeah, like actually with the Luna Fair, right? Where Luna Fair is the third cast, and you pull the Alexander off of that. You you get the Alexander to your hand before it goes off. So now you can actually cast that Alexander you got from Luna Freya while it's still on the stack, and you end up drawing four
Mm,
because that
yeah,
Alexander is the cast.
yeah. I guess so. One of the things also is something simple is like if you're doing Luna Freya, that is if you have the Rosa and then Luna Freya is your cast three. Oftentimes you could be on three backups, just leaves you one backup unused in that on that
Yeah,
turn. So like casting that Alexander with the Luna on the stack is
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah. So it's a lot of things like that. That comes with experience, right? But to get that experience, you have to be able to get as much testing as you are able to when you can. I mean, I'll be honest. So I didn't like I got a little bit. There was some luck involved, but I didn't get too much testing. But the thing is, like, what helped me in this case was Alex released a video on MBM. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not.
Oh yeah,
It
all the way through.
it was such a great breakdown of the deck. And like
Mhm.
I reached out to him. I said, bro, you need to do more videos like this. I think he released an Icewind one, which is also really good.
Yep, great video.
And it really gives you a much better understanding. I feel like watching these videos will save you a weeks of testing. Like
Yeah,
it really will.
yeah.
So if you can learn, you can very
You know what though? I'm gonna put a caveat here though, because there are gonna be a lot of people who are watching this who might be, let's say, on the slightly newer side or not the average side. I don't think Alex's video is ever gonna substitute for good actual playtesting,
sure.
but I I don't know how to phrase it, because but it's also game changing, right? It's just like it's gonna allow
Yes.
you to explore the deck way deeper. But
Yes.
and like and also for like me, it helped me explore ways to beat the deck way deeper, understanding its weaknesses, understanding its strengths. Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I want to caveat with that with saying Muhammad is an exceptional player. So if you're an exceptional player, if you have an exceptional mind, you could probably take some of that experience and transfer it into playing the game, because you've also played a lot of water cards, you've played lightning cards, so you kind of know. And water lightning NBM particularly is really just like an Opus 3 deck. Like it plays like an Opus 3 deck. It's obviously much stronger, but it is just an Opus 3 deck
Very
where
old
it's
school. It's a very
yeah,
old school deck.
yeah, and so you can kind of translate that. I would say for newer players, get the reps in. For
Oh yeah,
watch the video because it's a great fucking video.
absolutely.
But
They're
also, you
really
better get the reps in. You're not going to pull
yeah,
Muhammad and pick the deck the night before. That's just I don't think that I think that's very rare. I think you did get a little lucky, but you also had the play skill to back it up. And I'm sure Alex's video helped you a shitload.
yeah, yeah. I absolutely did. I even said it to him. I said like, bro, your deck helped me get to the point where I felt comfortable enough to run it for the tournament,
Hmm.
and it did get me to that next level to be able to win this tournament. Like, but of course, yeah. I mean, we've been playing for 10 years, right? Like, I'm
That's
not saying that it's something just
crazy.
yeah. It's about to be 10 years
Oh my
in 3 months.
gosh.
3 months, it'll be 10 years when I bought my first starter deck.
That's crazy, man. That's so crazy. And the time flies.
Yeah.
Back in the day,
So
that reminds me. So the reason that we're talking about the mental health topics that we are today, what reminded me, what made me want to talk about it. I mean, besides the fact that I literally just started Adderall today, um, was Muhammad's hat. And he's like, "Oh, I gotta find a hat. I want to wear a hat." And he goes and finds that hat. And what a great hat! Because I also am wearing the hat, obviously. But what a lot of people don't know is like this hat, and when we were back on the Cards of Evil's team, we used to use this emoji to symbolize like just positivity.
yeah.
And I think that's such a great way to like just kind of end this podcast is just talking about like that positivity. And like I'm so happy when I saw you that's the hat you pulled, and I was like, oh shit, let me go see if I can find mine. It's collected dust. I had to pull a snapback sticker off, and then it was a different color. You
I
yeah,
have
you still have yours. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I pulled my sticker off and it was a different color from like dust. Um, but yeah, man, I do want to appreciate you for joining this cast and just talking to me, just opening yourself up for people to kind of hear your struggles and hear your successes and hear what does well for you.
I'll
Um,
share one more thing. This is something I
yeah,
haven't shared, not even with really anyone. I know a lot of people know that like I took I mean, basically I retired, or at one point I basically thought I was done with the game.
yeah,
I don't think a lot of people actually know, but like a little before then, I lost someone extremely important to me.
hmm,
I know you. I spoke to you about it, but
yeah,
it hit me really hard. I mean, it still does. Like sometimes I still get emotional about it, and I just, I was not in a mental space at all to even think about like playing, or like I just didn't care, right? Because I lost something, like someone so important, uh, so dear to me, that like basically the world felt like it collapsed on me,
hmm,
right? So like work, like doing even like work was harder because I just couldn't, just not something I want to think about, like family and stuff. Like I was like going through a lot at the time,
yeah,
so I was like, okay, I just can't see myself like competing or playing. Like it's just not something I'm in a mind space for. And it took a lot. It took me five, 6 months before like I was back at a mental space and feeling comfortable enough to like, all right, I want to go see my friends. I think that'll be like, no, positivity, right?
yeah,
That'll be positive me, because that is why I came. I didn't actually think I was going to continue playing the game. I literally came to Chicago because I wanted to see all my friends, hang out with everybody, and then just have a good time and hang out. And it was great. We ended up topping after coming back, and then I was like, oh, I started to get that spark a little bit again, and slowly it's been burning. And yeah, here we are. So
yeah.
like it's okay to prioritize your health. It's okay to prioritize your mental state. It's okay to prioritize family over hobbies and games. And it's also okay to come back. Like
Yeah.
do what is good for you. That's I think the most important thing.
Yeah, and that might be playing the game, right? And so, for
Yeah.
Muhammad, that was stepping away, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But for some people, it might be leaning in, and
Yeah.
just escaping those everyday troubles or whatever. Yeah, I know that this is I don't I don't know. It seems almost like a cliche video because it's the opposite of cliche. I don't know how else to describe it. Um, but I do want to say that if you have anything to talk about, you feel free to reach out to myself or free to reach out to Mohammed. We'd love to talk about some of our struggles, talk to you about your struggle. If there's any way we can help, we'd love to make that something that we
You're
offer
not
to
alone.
you.
No one is alone. You're not alone.
Yeah, for sure. Don't sound too much like the hatchet guy, the hitchhiking hatchet guy. Everyone deserves
Oh,
loves. Everyone, and then kills people. Great Netflix documentary, by the way. All positivity, brother. Yeah.
shout out
Anyway,
to all OGs. Shout out to all the OGs, because I know a lot of them, when they see this, they're gonna remember.
yeah. Anyway, we don't have a spoiler for you. So if that's what you came for, we already gave up. We already showed our spoiler. I know it's the middle of spoiler season. Maybe we'll drop a reaction video. Since we're trying to put out some more content, we'll drop one of those soon. Maybe we can get some of the other boys, whether it's John or Tori or Abe, to come join us, so we can have a good super union. I think that'd be good for all of us. But yeah, until then, guys, stay positive. Thanks for joining me, Mohammed. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you so much. Take care.